Hello and welcome to your weekly horoscope for week commencing the 23rd of May. This is for the Sun or the Ascendant. I'm going to give you the broad strands to look out for, but please stay with me. I will then give in great detail each of the 12 zodiac signs that you can relate to, the key dates and influences for each one. Now, on the 29th of April, Mercury, the planet of communication, moved into the sign of Gemini. But on the 10th of May, around 2 weeks ago, it went into a retrograde. And as we start this week, Mercury retreats back within that retrograde into the sign of Taurus. Now, Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, so even in the retrograde, and of course it's been in a recently sparkling alliance with the flirtatious Venus, there have been possibilities. A lot of communications, a lot of ideas. I think Mercury reversing back into Taurus asks us to get really grounded about what some of those ideas may be and try to get a more tangible idea of how we can make things work in a really practical way. So an opportunity, I think, to still grapple with those finances, especially with the recent cost of living increases, and where we can squeeze a bit more from our budget. Mercury's going to help us to think about those things. But when it comes to thinking, late last week there was a quarter moon in the dreamy sign of Pisces, and that squared the Sun in the sign of Gemini. So a little bit of gossip could be doing the rounds this week. We should definitely not necessarily just believe at face value something we're told, particularly within our neighbourhood. There could also be some potential for misunderstandings with siblings. Now, this is a really important week in so many ways, but I think mostly because Mars on Tuesday returns to one of its two home zones, but of course it is the only ruling planet of the sign of Aries, and that's where it gets back to on Tuesday for a 6-week stay. But it immediately forges an absolutely fantastic link with Jupiter. Now, Jupiter, of course, is the planet of expansion. So now Mars returns to Aries. We have Jupiter, the planet of growth and potentially of good luck. And we also have Venus in the sign of Aries too. So the potential for initiative and drive is very strong. When Mars and Jupiter get together, it can give us an even greater sense of determination and thrust. But we also must remember that the element of the sign of Aries is fire, and Jupiter can, see us be a little bit overconfident in some ways. So it's going to be important to keep, grounded, and perhaps Mercury in that retrograde in Taurus can help this, especially when we're wanting to bring a much more excitement and action to a situation that may have stalled. But it's not just Mars that's forging a gorgeous link with Jupiter, because the Sun is, from Monday to Friday, in a sextile, and this is one of the luckiest aspects that you can get in astrology. So if our ideas are strong, our determination and spirit to see them through, that energy in Aries, particularly with Jupiter, that gives us a great opportunity to move forwards at some pace. So something that has been a little bit stuck could gain traction, and that's really exciting. Now, ironically, Venus forges a very positive link with Saturn this week, a very stabilizing angle. So this is, if you like, Venus in Aries, technically detrimented, but it's in a sextile with the co-ruler of Aquarius. So that's very much about the collective, the group, friends, if you like. Venus is about taking in the sign of Aries. It's about maybe just going for it a little bit. But if there is something that's working out well in a relationship, it could actually be very stable. The irony is that Venus is also in a square with Pluto from Monday through to the end of the week. And any relationship that is leveraged, so where Perhaps someone is promising us a really amazing deal around a job, or perhaps it could be that someone tries to spoil us big time if they're trying to get to know us, almost like being over generous. It's not to say that there's anything sinister with these tactics, but we just must be aware that Pluto's about power and Venus is about money as well as potentially sex. So, the inference is clear. Saturn can bring stability, but Pluto can bring some leverage. So just be conscious of that. But I think the key this week is to cut through the swirling mist that is that quarter moon, because there could be some mixed signals. It's not just Mercury's retrograde, and Mercury's retrograde in Taurus is most certainly asking us to scrutinize the details of things in a very exacting way. Now, if you are new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you would subscribe. I'm getting very close to that 100,000 mark. All the illnesses I've had in recent years, last 10 years, catching up now. So we'd greatly appreciate if you would click or tap on the bell notification symbol. If you would like to ascend above this broadcast, if you give me 3 pieces of personal information, time, date and place of birth, I can share with you an astrological roadmap that can guide the rest of your life, and also my special package of 30% off a character analysis for the next 12 months. No 2 charts are the same. Please see the link beneath this video. But please stay with me now for your individual zodiac forecast. So Cancer, your week commencing the 23rd of May forecast sees Mars, the planet of passion, move into your 10th house. This is the sector of self-confidence, and he's going to be there for the next 6 weeks. This gives you a great opportunity to punch forwards, to really raise your profile, to grasp opportunities with a real sense of self-belief. Now, of course, Mars is also going to be combining with Jupiter, so some luck can come to you around an employment, a business, a job situation this week, and your self-belief is going to be something that mesmerizes somebody that interacts with you. So really exciting stuff. And of course, you've already got Venus in this area too, which means that it's not always just about being in a more obvious way self-confident. It can be about subtlety as well, and yours is a sign which understands that more than most, because you generally don't like confrontation. So Mars isn't necessarily saying to you that you've got to face down your opponent, but it just means that I feel you're going to have much more regard for your own abilities, your own knowledge, what you can bring to situations. And even if you're someone who runs a little bit on maybe the shy or even timid side, this is going to give you a lot more self-belief. If you're someone who's very self-confident anyway, well, you're just really going to be on absolutely tip-top form. So what's not to like? Well, it's just don't try too hard in any professional situation, because with Venus in a square with Pluto, if you do lay it on a little bit too thick, if you're trying to get to know someone influential, or you're having an interview or doing a presentation, I wouldn't try too hard. It's important to know the line of being self-confident but saying, well, this is me. It's not necessary for you to be too ingratiating with someone you're trying to impress, because I do think it could be counterproductive. Now, with Mercury in a retrograde and moving from your 12th house, where quite tricky, that retrograde, now it's back into the 11th. What's that about? Well, I think more recently the doubts that Mercury has created have probably been self-doubts, or perhaps something that's important to you hasn't really been manifesting at the pace you want, and it felt very slow, and almost like your energy, especially your nervous energy, may have felt very flat and depleted. Mercury reversing into your 11th house suggests that if you have felt that some people haven't wanted to be in contact, where you have an opportunity to reach out yourself and Mercury retrograde can be a time to solve things. It's not just when things go awry around communication. So if there's someone you haven't been in touch with a while, a great opportunity to give them a call, send them a text or an email and reconnect with them. But what's the implication of that quarter moon which occurred right at the end of last week? Especially with the sun in your 12th house. I think it's just if something isn't quite as you want, or you're feeling a bit unsure about something, don't amplify your doubts beyond where they need to be. It's perfectly reasonable to check out, how do I feel? Maybe I don't feel quite as primed as I would like. That's fine, because that's watchful, but don't buy into it too much, because remember, with all this Aries energy, a cardinal sign like yours, it's about action. So your opportunity to seize the moment is fantastic. So don't pour too much energy into something or any element of your situation which isn't working so well, because it may actually seem worse than it really is. With that square between the moon and the sun, which is going to provide a backdrop for the whole of this week. Now Venus, of course, not only is it in the square with Pluto, it is in a great trine with Saturn. So if there is a future forward situation and it does require some kind of collaboration, I feel some good news is possible. So in general, a week where you can show a lot of dash, a lot of drive, and a lot of self-belief about something that's incredibly important to you.